You are now tuned in to the Dads Who Lift podcast, episode 1, relaunched, with today's guest, Tim Rexius. Tim, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Tim Rexius. I'm the president and CEO of the Rexius Nutrition Store chain across the Midwest, and co-founder, co-owner of Iron Heaven Gyms. Let's see what else. 2032 Run LLC, Vital Health International Board of Directors member, and probably a few other things I'm forgetting about. But that's me. And dad of six kids.
Wow.
So, yeah,
that's a big one.
Yeah. I've got ranging from 12 weeks old to 19 years. So I got a spread.
That's insane.
Yeah.
How do you balance, if you don't mind me jumping right into it, how do you balance all those kids and then all those businesses as well?
You know, I actually had a post up the other day from Steve Harvey. It said, "Rich people don't sleep." And the amount of backlash I got was kind of funny. Like, how do you do that? I said, it's priorities. You know, I mean, if something's important to you, you'll figure it out. And, you know, I think you can make a priority to be really good in business and entrepreneurship and be a good dad at the same time. Just takes sacrifice, really. You know, I love my kids more than I can breathe. So, you know, if you have, you know what that's like. I mean, you're a dad, and that's, you know, if it's important to you, you'll make it work. And it just being self-employed, the one thing is I make my own schedule. So I'm a glutton for my own punishment when it comes to work. That's why I constantly start stuff. But, you know, like tonight, I want to have time with my boys. So I got to train at 3, pick up the kindergartner by, 5:30, get him to baseball, get him out by 6:15. And then I got movie tickets for my boy, two of my sons, to go see Detective Pikachu, because they're all geeking out. So I'm looking up stuff on Pikachu today because I don't even know what that is. And, that's what it takes. You know, you got to just make priorities. So it's fun. But my kids, we're a family business. So my kids are involved. You know, we go to shows, we go to events. The kids rock a Rexius nutrition shirt. And, you know, that's part of the family. It's like when I grew up on the farm, you know, it wasn't really, it's what you did for your fam. So my kids love it, though. They get to rock T-shirts with their name on it and go pass out samples. And, you know, it's really hard to tell a 6-year-old no when he asks if you want to buy a protein cookie. So I kind of use it to my advantage. And, so.
I'll definitely vouch for you because I think it was last week on like Thursday or whatever, I go into Tim's gym at 3:30 in the morning so I can try to get some pictures of the Dad Who Lift apparel line up on social media later that day. And I'm not one to take a bunch of pictures or videos when there's people in the gym. So I'd rather wake up at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and get there when it's dead. And who do I see mopping the floor at like 3:45 a.m.? Tim, the co-owner of the gym, the only other guy in there. It's like,
yeah, you know, everybody's like, why now? I go, 1, nobody's on the floor, and 2, my kids are asleep. So I can get out and get some work done when they're still, you know, catching the Z's. And that's what it takes, though, if you want to be the best at both, you know. And it was funny because you scared the heck out of me because I didn't think anybody else was going to be in there at 3:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, sweet. I'm not alone. I'm not, you know, I'm running on caffeine, but I'm there. So
I was like, that can't be Tim.
Oh, yeah.
Sure enough. Yeah. Got the mop out.
Oh, yeah. That's, you know, I think all my staff between all of our companies will say the one thing is that they can't – I never ask them to do something I'm not willing to do, which makes – I got a great team of employees behind me, but I'm the first one to jump in and pull my time. So I work weekends and I work nights. And unfortunately, sometimes it happens to be at 3:30 in the morning, as much as I may hate it. But I also have a 12-week-old, so I have a built-in alarm clock. And if he's up, I'm working. So, you know.
Oh, yeah. So you definitely – sounds like you've probably always had the entrepreneurial spirit. How'd you get into the supplement industry?
Honestly, back when I was 18, 19, I started working at GNC in Norfolk, Nebraska, and had a great mentor with Eric and Brian and Chad Talkie. Their group, their brothers and cousins, they were the #1 GNC franchisees in the U.S. In fact, they helped Corey Weedle, who eventually started Complete Nutrition before he sold it, get in the industry too. And so I worked for them, and I helped them run the Norfolk store in college with Shane Yeager, who's now my business partner for Rexius. This goes back like 20 years, bro, which makes me feel old. But this was my business plan in college, was for Rexius Nutrition. It was kind of a same as the internet, but, you know, same price as the internet, today's availability, guy who knows what he's talking about, no house brand, you know, 70 different brands to choose from, get it today, try it, taste it for free, talk to a bro who's actually taking the stuff versus, you know, somebody who obviously doesn't lift. And the highest grade I got on it was a D. And I'm pretty sure I talked my way into that D because it was like an F. And so I couldn't get financing and went and got a job in the real world. And I moved up the ladder very quickly into corporate America. I was an interim vice president of operations for a Fortune 200 company by the time I was 28. And by the time I was 29, and I was just young enough and dumb enough to actually quit, and sold everything on my own I had on Craigslist and eBay, so much that my kids thought they were next, and started my first store here in Omaha in 2010 and never looked back. And that's, you know, it went one store, two stores, and now we're about to open our 25th location in our 7th state. We're opening in Dallas, Texas here in about 6 weeks.
Wow.
So, yeah, we got 4 here in Omaha, still based out of Omaha, Nebraska, but we're in Nebraska, Iowa, Colorado, Missouri, Kansas, South Dakota, Minnesota, and now Texas. So,
Damn, that's crazy.
yeah, well, I got a lot of kids to pay for, so I got to keep opening up shops. I got 6 of them.
So you started in the supplements about 20 years ago, and then you started your own 9 years ago.
Yeah.
How has the supplement industry or game, as you might say, changed in that amount of time?
You know, significantly. It's kind of call it cyclical, if you will. You know, you had the stores, and like GNC in the 90s was like the #1 rated franchise in the world. And then the internet killed them, just absolutely destroyed them. But they were this big giant monster, right? And so everybody's about the internet. Well, then, you know, the internet got so popular, your bodybuilding.coms, you're all yours. And in fact, I was a forum moderator on bodybuilding.com for a couple of years. My background's in biopharmacology, so I'm kind of a science geek when it comes to the bodybuilding nutrition game. And then I saw the internet start to backlash a little bit. I got some bottles online that were, you know, 3 years expired by the time I got them. Or I got it in and it tasted horrible. I'm like, well, you can't take it back anywhere, and you're not shipping it back. I mean, they make it as inconvenient as possible. And at the same time, all the newer stores, which don't need to name, that were very commission driven, those had kind of popped back up because people had the same online experiences I had. But then you're paying like something ridiculous because you have to know the homie handshake crap, which makes people not want to go in the stores. My little brother had actually went down to a local shop and paid like $69.99 for a bottle of Crealkaline creatine.
Wow. Probably $2 worth of product.
I sell it for $9.99. I kid you not. I got pissed, and that's why I dusted off the old business plan and popped back in. And it's very cyclical. What you'll see is a lot of these no-name shops pop up with their own house brand of stuff, and that's the big thing for a minute, and then it always dies off. And then, you know, we've seen the game change a lot. You've seen this big retail apocalypse lately that all these stores are closing and we're growing. Everybody's why? I'm like, well, you know, it's about not getting greedy. And that's what you'll see. People will start making their own brand. They get greedy. And then the websites, you know, you have no customer service. So it's, you know, us is just sticking to our core business principles. And right now you're seeing a major resurgence of house brands. All of a sudden you're going to see you know, everybody thinks they're an Instagram influencer. Which, you know, hey, there are some, whatever, it's part of the game. And all of a sudden you have all these 6,000 brands you've never heard of a year ago popping up, and they got the very aesthetically pleasing pictures on the Instagram and all that stuff, but you have no idea where it's made, who makes it, if they have any background, if it's tested or not. And so that's going to be huge here for about the next 12 to 18 months. And then you'll see a bunch of publicity pop up that they're fake, and then you're going to go back to the big brands again. And then it goes about every 18 to 24 months. You see this big switch. Go back to the big house brand stables, and then you're going back to the private label ones that nobody's ever heard of. And, you know, for us, I just kind of stick to our principles, and we've been fine. We just keep growing. But, you know, I think what we're finding is that people are starting to have a backlash against that online retailer quite a bit. And somebody comes in, she said, "Will you price match Amazon?" Heck yeah, well, she pulls it up, and I go, "But can I help you out for a second?" She goes, "Yeah." I go, "I'm $5 cheaper than Amazon on that product." She's like, "No, you're not." "Yeah, I am. I mean, if you want to pay me more, I'm totally cool." I got a lot of kids that want to go to school someday. And she goes, "Oh my goodness." I'm like, "Yeah, this misconception that because you used your fingerprint to buy it, it's cheaper is absolute garbage. I know what Amazon charges stuff, so I'm purposely cheaper all the time."
Nice.
You know what it is when you're a dad and you're a parent and you got a bunch of kids, you're on a budget.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a budget. And so, I mean, I don't price anything any more expensive than I would want to pay for it either. Because, I mean, my wife and I were in the store the other night, and she's price checking online while we're in the store. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to kill that bird from ever even being a problem. So, it's the dynamics constantly changing with technology, obviously, but core principles, good service, good pricing, good availability is always going to win, in my opinion.
So what motivates you to keep opening these new stores and taking on more responsibilities when it sounds like you already have a pretty full schedule?
I am a serial entrepreneur. There's two kind of entrepreneurs. You have your entrepreneur, business owner guy who wants to own his own business, do his own thing, sweat of his own back, have his kids involved. It's great. I call it entrepreneurial tendencies. Then you have a serial entrepreneur, which is unfortunately the class I fall into, where I literally see a gap in an industry or a hole, and I just have this absolute need to fill it. That's why Iron Heaven Gyms got created. I got mad. I got annoyed at a lot of the gyms around. I was like, man, can't a guy just go in and drop some heavy stuff and listen to ACDC and slap some chalk on a thing and get these and not look at my bank account every month trying to figure out what the heck got charged from some sort of yearly equipment upgrade, homie high five, back handshake, fee, garbage contract. I had to sign my firstborn onto the contract with blood kind of crap. And that's kind of what happened, and what happened with the Rexia stores is that, I have a lot of guys who wanted to franchise, which was never my original plan. But there were a bunch of good guys, good bros I knew from the gym, and we opened up one, then two, and then everybody kind of saw that my business model was, it was different. And, usually franchising business was meant for only the wealthy, the kids with the trust fund. And, at one point when I was 19 for about I was homeless. When I started my first company, actually, I was living in my Delta 88 Oldsmobile. Don't feel bad for me. It's a 38-foot long car, so it's like a 3-bedroom. And but I chose to use my money for my first company instead of paying rent. So I wanted a business model for guys like that. The guy that has a family already that can still afford to go start a business. So in fact, we actually lowered our franchise fee by half this year. We actually cut. Yeah, you know why? Because I want the hustlers. I don't want the trust fund babies. I want the guys who are going to go out and make it a family business. That's actually how McDonald's got successful. They chose families to run their restaurants versus just rich people who don't care as much because money doesn't mean as much to them. That's what we've done. So the guy he's doing Dallas, Texas, he's partnered up with my franchisee in Lincoln. He's moving back home. He's got 2 or 3 daughters and his wife. It's a family business. And so I'm like, you know what? Let's make this happen. And the guy who's doing just opened Des Moines was, he delivered for Budweiser and just decided he didn't want to be an employee anymore, wanted to own his own shop. And we went through hellfire, but we got that kid approved. And, so I guess I'm not really investing so much in Rexius. I'm investing in people. I'm investing in a bunch of dads, a bunch of moms that want to own their own stuff, make their own schedules, and that they're going to care as much about it as I do since my name's on the door. And that's why we've been able to expand so well. It's because I guess left greed at the door and went more for the long-term good relationship. And that's what's made us successful.
So what advice would you give a dad, whether they're going to open a Rexius franchise or they're going to open a completely different business model to be successful in opening a brand new business with like a family at home, not a ton of money saved up, I guess, and like everyday dad responsibilities?
It's when you're starting a new business, I mean, you gotta make sure, especially when you're already a dad, and you gotta make sure family's on board. You got to make sure that that your spouse and that your kids are all in on this, that they're excited for you. It takes a village to really run a business in a community and to be a family guy. So they're quite often, that's why I have meetings. And so my buddy, shops at our store is their judo sensei for 2 of my sons. So quite often I'm like, hey man, I got to run the shop, or I got a problem at the gym. Can you pick the boys up? And I'll pick them up when they're done. Sure. So it really is all my customers, and being a dad, it's like, that doesn't take second place. You just got to find a way to negotiate. So like my wife, she's a team player. I mean, we had little Roman Rexius, and we were short staffed in the gym. So 7 days after my wife gave birth, she's got this baby strapped to her chest and she's in there running the show, which makes me look like, she's way tougher than I am, but that's just what it takes. So, advice would be like, don't financially strap yourself that your kids are going to suffer by any means, but make sure that if your kids are on board and your spouse is on board, you're good to go. Don't make a decision against the better judgment of your family. It's harder when you're, this. I mean, it's one thing if you're 20 years old, don't have any kids, don't have any responsibilities. A whole different ball game when you got a mortgage, and you got kids in school, and they got sports. It just takes a little bit different approach. But good thing about starting your own business is you do make your own schedule. So, sometimes I'll mop the gym at 3:45 in the morning, so I have time to go train after that, get my office stuff done, so I can still make and help coach baseball practice at 5 o'clock that afternoon. Just takes a little more work from the dad, and sometimes it's not comfortable. I'd love to sleep 8 hours a day, but it's just not a luxury I'm going to get to have if I want to be the kind of dad and businessman I want to be. So it's all about priorities.
Right. And as far as supplements go, what 2 or 3 supplements, because this is a big question. This is everybody's main question when they start a fitness routine.
Yeah.
What 2 or 3 supplements would you recommend to your everyday dad or whoever it may be who's just looking to build some muscle, lose some fat, and just get the most bang for their buck?
All right. Number 1, pre-workout. Now, I actually got some heck from this from a couple of doctors, so I put them to school on biopharmacology. Sometimes I don't want to go. We're tired. The stress of the day, you want to call it pre-workout. And I don't care if it's high caffeine or if it's low caffeine, makes no difference. That depends on your natural adrenal system. And, I'm chugging coffee like you wouldn't believe. So caffeine doesn't affect me much, but sometimes I need the motivation to get in there and to really get after it. And so that's part of the pre-workout. The other part of the pre-workout is the vasodilators, whether it be citrulline malate or arginine or agmatine, anything that causes more vasodilation. So for guys who don't know what that means, is basically it's increasing the diameter of your blood vessels to allow more blood to flow to your muscle. So in science, in equivalency speaking, it means that we're working smarter instead of harder. I can do as much to my muscle tissue in 3 sets instead of doing 6, which as we get older, you're younger than me. Trust me, everything starts to hurt. Everything starts to hurt after a while. So if I can get in and out faster because I don't have as much time and I can get as much accomplished, that's working smarter instead of harder. So sometimes it's about the motivation. Sometimes, to get that energy in there. Sometimes it's literally about easing up on the muscle tissue, allowing more blood to flow. And technically speaking, if you dilate the blood vessels, you'll effectively lower your blood pressure, reduce your chance of stroke and heart attack significantly, depending on the person. So technically, it makes working out safer as well. And a lot of these have acetylcarnitine, which reduces stroke chances by like 60 to 70%. So these are actually very healthy for you. Caffeine is not unhealthy. Caffeine in overconsumption is unhealthy. Anything in overconsumption is unhealthy. But technically speaking, it makes working out safer and smarter. So pre-workout's number 1. Number 2 depends on the age of the guy, really. But I always say this, like a good protein is huge. Sometimes we're all quick, especially if you're a dad. You know this. Like you need to go eat chicken and rice, but you got a 3-year-old screaming and throwing things at you. So, and it's hard to negotiate with a terrorist. And, and then I've got, 3 teenage daughters who are picky and they're arguing about what they want to eat. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get them handled. I don't have a lot of time, but muscle recovery with proteins and aminos is massive. There is a certain amount of time post-workout to get those proteins in your system to help your muscle tissue repair. So I always have a protein around to help make sure I'm getting my gains. I'm getting recovery from my muscle, because the older you get, the more tired you are, the harder it is to recover. So protein is number 2. It doesn't need to be the hydroisolate, high grade. No. Usually a step below that's just fine. I usually go with a good whey protein or a bovine protein. I think a lot of guys actually benefit from bovine proteins because they have a higher amino acid profile, which helps with strength and muscular size. So, farm fed from Access Sledge is a good bovine protein that works really well too. But, it depends on the guy's preference. Number 3, I'm going to say a natural testosterone booster. I know a lot of people don't like them. I've got 2 that I like, Limitless Test Support and Toro Test from Project AD. I've actually gotten blood work on them. It raised my testosterone levels over 150 points. As we age, as we tire, lack of sleep, our testosterone levels drop. They say from 17 to 19, this is from the Cleveland Clinic, the average testosterone drops from a 17-year-old to a 19-year-old even, will drop 10, 15% just in those 2 years alone. So imagine by 25, 30, 35, 40, how much your testosterone levels will drop. That's our quality of sleep. That's our deal with our stress and cortisol levels. That's our ability to repair muscle tissue. Now, there are a lot of them out there are gimmicks. I would say 90% of them are worthless. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a reason people come in like, where's all your test boosters? I go, you mean those three?
Yeah.
Literally, because I think most of them don't have scientific backing. I don't carry them. Those ones I'm talking about do. It's a lot cheaper than taking the shots for guys who don't want to take the shots. That's just my 2 cents, and that's probably the questions I get in my stores the most, or by the 28 and up crowd that are starting to feel like their strength is diminishing, the quality of sleep's diminished. Usually that means testosterone levels have dropped significantly. So, because the average 17-year-old has probably a 854 to a 900 test level, and the average 30-year-old's around a 600. So it drops by 30% within about 10, 12 years. And that's a huge drop. So,
oh, yeah. And you can't say creatine because you only charge $9 for it.
Well, creatine's an animal. Creatine's been studied more than any pharmaceutical drug approved by the FDA times 10. Because every time somebody gets a degree in like biopharmacology or organic chemistry, they have to do a clinical study. So creatine's benefits are fantastic. Just depends on the guy. I honestly, right now, creatine, I retain water like a sieve, and creatine monohydrate, which is great, works best with carbohydrates. I just know I get puffy. My strength goes through the roof, honestly, because of the pressure created in the muscle. For me, I'm probably also not training as hard as I should be. I don't think I'll quite get the benefit out of creatine. Right now, I'm trying to look good, feel good. I'm not competing right now. I haven't competed in 2 years, and I might eventually again, but it's a lot of work, and I hate cardio. So,
no, I hear you.
But,
so last question, what can people both inside of Omaha and outside of Omaha do to support Rexius and your other ventures as well?
With Rexius, I've gotten people who have been supporting my shops for 9 years, and that's just massively humbling and appreciated. We have stores, like I said, in the 6th state, about to go to our 7th state. Obviously, Rexinutrition.com, Rexius Franchising. It's all on the website. Follow us, hashtag us and stuff. Help us grow the branding image. It's funny. We looked the other day at Rexius Army, which was just a made-up hashtag a couple years ago. Now it's like 10,000 posts.
Wow.
People I've never even met, just tagging it from Texas to New York to Florida, and it's kind of awesome, and it's really cool. And we were out, I don't know where we were. We walked into the mall in Phoenix, and I walked into a store, and somebody goes, "You opening a store here?" I'm like, "Holy hell, who is this dude? Why does he know who I am?" I was like, because I'm wearing a Rexius shirt. He goes, "I got that shirt." I'm like, "Oh, homie, we're taking a picture. Like, this is cool." You know what I mean? It's just,
wow.
It mind boggles me that we've kind of gotten to that size, but supporting us online, that's cool. If you want to open up a franchise, it's awesome. I care more about the guy doing it than I do where it's at, because if the right guy can make a business successful, he's got a good work ethic and a good family around him. But we have our stores in, like I said, 6, 7 states, and support those owners. Those are more family guys that have kids too, that are out there working hard, and support them, support us. It's and Iron Heaven Gyms. I never said we'd open a second one, and we did. I never said we'd expand the first one, and we did. So, we may end up franchising that model off. We may open more gyms. Who knows? I hope my wife doesn't hear me. She'll yell at me. But that gym's been so much fun. Honestly, that's why we keep expanding it, just because people are loving what we're doing. And, if you get in the Omaha area, drop in. First time's always free. So even if you're traveling from out of town, come see what a real gym looks like, because they haven't been around for years, and that's kind of what we were trying to bring back. And there's a good chance you're going to AC/DC is the best way to start out any day. So there's a good chance I put in every single AC/DC song into those rotations that I possibly could, which they keep trying to take them out, but it's not going to happen. Stop in, drop some heavy stuff. You don't have to pay. Just come in and try it out for free. And just I like people getting to see that atmosphere. It's kind of cool. And you can say, you know that. We have the doors popped open. We have the biggest American flag money you could buy on the wall. It's all America and weights. So stop on in.
America and rock and roll.
Exactly.
Cool, man. I know you're busy. I want to thank you again for making the time to do this podcast.
Absolutely.
You said you were starting a podcast as well. Did you want to drop that at all?
Yeah. It's called Now or Never. If you follow the Timothy D. Rexius business page on Facebook, I ran out of friends on my personal ones. They made me this business one. And right now it's got a posing or a bodybuilding picture of me on it, which it's got to remove because I do not look like that anymore. It's a way younger Tim. But we first one was Chet Fortune, who used to train Terrence Crawford, who trains actually out of Iron Heaven, and then between the YouTubes and the Instagrams and the Facebook pages, you add them all up, we're like 80-some thousand views in like 3 weeks. Next week we dropped Sean and Mindy Harley, co-owners and founders of I Think Fit Gym, Rock Solid Nutrition. They're in movies. They're on. We have a whole list of big names coming from all over the country going to be on this podcast. So follow it. It's cool. It's video series. It's also podcast. It's on SoundCloud called Now or Never. And any suggestions, I just email them in, man. Because I think I put up a Facebook post. Any entrepreneurs want to be on this? And I had like 700 messages in 3 days.
Wow.
Oh, it was cool. I was like, I don't know. I feel like a bad business person. I don't know who half these people are.
But
So
you sell isogenics. You're not an entrepreneur. Quit.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if it's a multi-level, it's not an entrepreneur. But, you know, it's been cool seeing how people from the Midwest have started these massive things. And I just think it's neat because I think our area of the country doesn't get a lot of representation for business owners and entrepreneurs and people who really just said, you know, now or never, I'm going to do it today. And I think people want to hear stories about other people from our neck of the woods got started, the struggles they saw, they had, how they got to where they are, because it gives a lot of people inspiration and hope, and that's kind of what it's for. So, yes, tune on in. It's, you know, I promise I don't talk the whole time. I have other people talk too. People say I talk too much, so, but it is entertaining. Please feel free to tune on in.
Awesome. Thanks again, Tim. If you guys are watching this either in the forum or listening on iTunes, please take a second to give a 5-star review and leave a comment. Every week I'll be sending one comment. Whoever makes the best comment, one of these hats, which actually Tim Rexius pointed me in the direction of the guys that make the hats.
Love that. I need to get you one of those hats.
So, well, leave a comment, man. Maybe you'll get one next week.
Sounds good, brother.
All right. I appreciate you, Tim.
Bet. All right.
Bye.